Mid-December not only means that we're only a couple of weeks away from Christmas, but it means that it's time for your monthly real estate market update. Hi, this is Andrew with the Andrew Smith team at eXp Realty. And I wanted to start this month with a topic we've discussed a lot the past several months, and that is the likelihood of a recession and or talk of a recession. Now, you may have noticed that talk has dried up. It's not being mentioned as much. And that's probably because the economy remains strong and the belief that a recession is imminent isn't really there as much as it was just a few months ago. In fact, the most recent survey shows that of the economists surveyed, only 34% believed that a recession is likely to start in 2020. That's down from nearly 50% just a few months ago. So why is that? Well, as mentioned, the economy. The US economy remains strong. It continues to show growth and positive gains, even when other parts of the world are starting to show signs of a slowdown. You may have seen the November jobs report that shows the number of new jobs created in November shattered all of the expectations. It caused the stock market to jump, and it showed how strong the economy still is. In fact, you may have even seen the reports showing the amount of spending that was done between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It broke records once again. So the overall economy in the United States remains strong. And that pairs well for housing. The housing market is also very strong, which helps the overall economy. They're both helping each other at the moment. As a matter of fact, the growth in the economy has really continued to fuel buyers' purchasing power when it comes to home buying. Historically, about 21.2% of income was spent on housing related payments. So your housing payment historically was about 21.2% of payments. Again, these are national numbers, talking national averages, and it can be different in different areas. But as of September, the latest month that numbers were available, the percentage of income being used towards housing payments was down to 15.2%. What that means is people have more disposable income. More disposable income leads to more consumer spending. More consumer spending, good for the overall economy. That sentiment has carried forward into the overall feelings about the housing market. In fact, Porch.com recently did a survey of Americans asking about investment opportunities and what they believed was a good investment. And, it was fairly overwhelming. The number one, the best and safest investment over the next 10 years, according to most Americans, is believed to be real estate. That is different from what we saw a few years ago. And it shows that the overall consumer is coming around to the fact that real estate has recovered. It is a good bet, and it is a safe place to park your money for the foreseeable future. Now, one of the things about the housing market that has kept it so strong is supply and demand, which we've talked about in the past. Buyer demand remains high. The demand for housing is there. We've talked about how we've been underbuilt and supply has been relatively low. And that hasn't really changed. Yes, there are pockets around the country and there are certain price points where supply has crept up, but we're not swimming in supply virtually anywhere, or at least in the areas that I keep the closest eye on and track. Now, what is interesting is as demand for housing has increased and stayed stable in most areas, the number of people attempting to sell their home on their own for sale by owners has increased. I only bring that up because it's the first time that has happened in over a decade. In fact, according to National Association of Realtors, almost 36% of home sellers first attempt to sell their home on their own. Only 8% end up being successful, but that's honestly neither here or there. it's showing that the average homeowner is recognizing that demand for housing remains high, and they're going out there and trying to sell their home themselves. Now, I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm not saying that's a bad idea. That's not what this video is about. I've often said that the absolute best way to sell your home, or the best way for you to do something, is what makes the most sense for you. So if you're in a situation and that's what you're considering, give me a call, reach out. I'd be happy to point you in the right direction and discuss the pros and cons with you in more detail. Going forward to next month in January, we're going to kick the new year off by kind of recapping what we saw in 2019, kind of go over the overall trends, overall stats on market performance, as well as provide a few projections on what is expected going forward in 2020 for any of you out there that are considering buying and or selling your home. So until next month, I wish you all a Merry Christmas, a happy holiday season, and a very safe and happy New Year.